Okay, so in this session, we'll discuss about performing DML operations in OAF using PLC. Okay, so even though we have entity object concept which performs DML operations in OAF, we are preferring in this session. I mean, we are like we'll be discussing about PLSQL. The basic reason or in which scenario generally we go with the PLSQL is like generally whenever there is an existing business logic, existing complex business logic which is already in PLSQL. That is one scenario. Or there are chances, like some particular customer foresee there could be a change in their framework functionality, or maybe their change in the technology which they are using. They prefer to go with a PLSQL, like maybe forcing a new technology tech stack. Okay, so let us say today maybe this year they want to go with EBS or maybe OA framework. Maybe after 5 years they don't want to go with OA framework. They want to go with a new framework, which is independent of this framework. So in those scenarios, what happens is the business logic they'll just simply build everything in the PL SQL because database generally they prefer with Oracle because that's the number one database. So maybe they'll go with the existing Oracle database, but framework they want to go with a different one. So that also a possible. Nothing but let us say these days many of them are preferring Apex in the Oracle business suite also. So in those kind of scenarios, this is kind of a benefit. Okay, and now so coming to PL SQL. So in database, before discussing about database, the PL SQL, so in database we have two functionalities, right? One is SQL and a PL SQL. So in SQL, using the SQL, we can perform CRUD operations, right? Like a select, insert, update, and delete. So now what we do is, without using the business object, we'll try to involve the database directly. Okay, that is what we want to discuss. And here also, when you use the PL SQL, you have either two components. One is either procedure or a function. So now, so we know that like OA framework is based on Java, and database is based on its own particular. It will have own engines like SQL and PL SQL engine. So now we require a communication between both of them. We require a communication between two technologies which are which are having a different language on its own, right? So in those scenarios, generally we have something called drivers. We call it as like maybe if you install any of the hardware, right, you require a hardware driver, right, which provides a communication between two interfaces. Similarly, in OA framework or in a Java, we have something called JDBC drivers. See, driver is nothing but a software in our scenario. Like a JDBC Java database connectivity library, I can say, or a driver, which provides a connection between OAF and database. Okay, as a developer, we just need to use that API and provide a communication between OAF and database. Okay, now one more thing, SQL will have its own SQL engine. PLSQL will have its own PLSQL engine. That is the way what Oracle has done is for SQL. For SQL, we have something called prepared statement API. And for PLSQL, we have something called callable statement API. Okay. So similarly, both of them have the same functionality like invocation of a database component, but we just need to use a prepared statement for SQL query, and we have to use a callable statement API for the purpose of PLSQL. Okay. Now, what is a demo or what is a sample we want to discuss is design an Oaf page with Dml operations. Okay, using PLSQL, procedure as well as function. Okay. Now what we do is like first thing is we require a set of components, right? So we require a table, we require a PLSQL object, and from the OF perspective, we require a model view, controller logic. So table wise, what we do is I prefer to use our existing table which we have used earlier. Okay, which has all the respective columns. Okay. So let's start from XXPO edits. Okay. I'll use this particular one, and I have designed the API similarly. PO util spec, not written fully, but yeah, partial one. So I have the here, if you observe, right, I just have the insert PO as well as update PO, which has appropriate input parameters and output parameters. And this is a package body. As of now, I have not written any business logic. I just have a return statement. Okay, similarly here also. Okay, now what we do is table. Yeah, table I'll mention here. This is our database table, and PLSQL package. This is our package. And for insert, we require, for update, we require, for delete also we require. Okay. So insert, I will use the insert procedure. And for update, I'll use the update processor. Okay. And remaining we'll discuss one by one later. And coming to the model, let me mention those things also. So we'll try to use the existing package, which we have already. So here, this one, this is our AMIMPL. And view. Okay, so view as well as controller. What we do is like we'll say PODML using PLSQL PG. Okay. Similarly, PODML using PLSQL CO. Okay. So now what we do is, and coming to the model layer, we require a view object, right? Vivo object. Okay. So I'll just say XX Vivo details Vivo. Not to have any conflict, I'll just say Vivo. Vivo. Yeah, it's okay. Vivo details Vivo.
Yeah.
Get this particular columns now. We'll prepare a Vivo first. Select star. So I'll create a Vivo with a name.
Yeah.
XX Vivo details Vivo. So I'll just go in the server package, new view object, XX Vivo details Vivo. Okay. And here, if you observe, right, let us say if I go with updatable access, let us see what options it shows. Okay. So what I'll do is, if you see updatable access, right, I'll just go with this one, click on next. And now can you see what it is asking? Select entity object. And even if you don't select, let us say if I click on next, right? Let us say I have not selected anything. Sorry. Right. Later it is asking the query statement. Okay. It is kind of, like unnecessary understanding conflict. So that is a basic, that is a reason what we do is, now in our case anyway, we want to use a PLSQL logic for the entity, PLSQL logic for the DML operation. So don't worry about using entity object. Simply click on read only access and mention this one. Okay. So that will not have any disturbance with the entity information. So I'll just click on this one. Okay. Next, next, next. Now for each of the attribute, right? Updatable always, it is there already for this one. Okay. I think it is there.
Yeah.
Updatable always is there. If not, we'll just see that. And generate row IMPL also. Next and finish. Assign the Vivo to the AM. Apply. Okay. Next thing is, let's create a page. New OA components page, and yeah.
Page name and introduction.
Yeah. So I'll just go with this name. Set the default properties. Okay. Now set new controller. See. Okay, let me run as of now. Just want to see how it
Yeah.
works. And now what we require is we require a table region, and we require a set of buttons like a save, insert, like and delete. Okay, and yeah, let us run the page and then we can.
Update also.
Yeah. So for update, what happens is you don't need to mention extra buttons separately. You just save will work out for that. Okay.
Yeah.
So now what we do is, so in this particular page, right? So in the page, what we do is now we have a top level region, main region. Under this main region, we'll create a table region. Okay. This will have all the columns, and under this one, the table actions, we require insert button. Okay, delete either you can have at the column level or we can have at the table action level. Okay, and now under the page layout region, right, under the page layout, under the main region. Okay, so I'll create a page button bar. Okay, which will have save button. Okay, this is what we want to design the structure.
Yeah.
So quickly we just create, I always prefer to create header region first, and then under that I'll create it. Okay, Evo details, new region using a wizard. Table, select all the columns, nothing to change, finish. On this one, click on new table actions, create two buttons, insert and delete. Okay, I'll copy paste, Control C, Control V. One is insert button, delete button, delete. And now create a page button bar under the main region. Item, submit button. Okay, yeah. So the first thing what we want to do is we just want to have a initialization method when we come to the page. So just let's finish that. Public void init xxp details. So we call this method from the process request. Okay. Okay. See, I just want to show you one more way. So now this is how we are preferring to invoke, right? But in some of the projects, right, you may observe a different one. Let me show you that also. So here, let us say I'll mention it as AM1. Now instead of our exact AM name, what they generally do is they just mention OA application module. Okay, OA application module. And then what they do is they just mention am dot invoke method, am dot invoke method, and in the am dot invoke method we have these set of overloaded methods. Okay, with parameters you can mention, without parameters you can mention, with parameters, with data types, with with method name. So different ways you can mention. Okay, now let us say I want to invoke this method in it pivot details. What I can do is I can just mention am dot invoke method, and I have to mention the method name in the double quotes. This is another way of invocation. Okay, either way will work perfectly. Okay, now let us say now in this one, right? What I'm doing am dot invoke method. I mentioned the method name. Okay. Now, so this will initialize the data, right? So let's run this one. F11. Okay. So now we got the data. Next thing is let us finish the insert and delete button. Oh, it is insert and delete. Yeah, that's fine. Insert and delete. Now here, if you observe, right? So when you click on insert, it has to create a new record in the Vivo level. When you click on save, it has to insert that created record in the database. Okay. So now for database to understand, now let us say you have these number of records. Okay. And we are providing a functionality for all the DML operations, right? It can be insert, update, or delete. Now, when you are sending some data to the database to understand which operation it has to perform, whether it has to perform insert, update, or delete. For delete, we don't have any problem, but for the insert and update, there is a problem, because now you have these number of records, and database has to understand, or nothing but we have to pass to the database that which particular data should be for the insertion as well as which is for the purpose of update. Okay, so for that purpose, what we do is we'll require a particular extra flag in our Vivo. Without that also we can do it, but this is one of the way we generally implement. Okay. Now what I'll do is in the attributes, I'll create an attribute called new row flag. I'll create a new row flag and updatable always, apply. Okay. Now let us implement the logic for the insert button. Okay. So we'll go to AM. Public void insert. Okay.
Set new row flag is that is the
That is the one which we created now, right? We created a new transient attribute. We create a new transient attribute. 1 minute. Set. Okay. Okay. New row status. Yeah. 1 minute. See, what are we doing here? We got the Vivo instance. We are assigning the row with a null initially. We are creating a new record. We are setting that a state of a row so that it will be available for insertion. And then we are setting the value of a column called new row flag to y. Whenever you're creating a new record, for that it should be y. And then we want to insert this new record into the last position of the Vivo. Now in the table, you have already, let us say you have around 15 records. So I don't want to insert wherever it want. I just want to insert that new record at the last position. So that what I'm doing is iterate to the last record. And after that, you insert a new record. Okay. And now this one, what we do, we'll call from our CO. So now here, Oaf Page context dot get parameter of insert not equal to null. Okay, let us write the logic for all the methods also. I'll use this logic now. M dot And similarly, insert, it's getting refreshed automatically.
Yeah.
Insert, delete.
Save. This is save.
Yeah. So these spellings we have to always validate. Sometimes there could be always a manual mistake, right? So just observe whether they're save it. Okay. Insert btn, delete btn. Okay, fine. Yes. Now run the page. Okay, I'll click on insert. Okay, it inserted at this position. Okay.
Yeah.
So it when we just mentioned vivo.last and we just inserting there itself. So now let us say last record was at this position and you're inserting at that record itself. So again, what we have to do is vivo.last and again we have to mention vivo.next and then we have to insert. Okay, that's fine. Click on next, insert. So it inserted one more record. Can you see the two
So
empty rows?
wherever we put the cursor, then if we click, then only that.
No. Nothing related to cursor. Nothing related to cursor. When you click on insert, right now let us say my cursor is at this position. It'll insert one more record. It is not about a cursor.
Okay.
Okay, so it's about the position, the number of records you have, and it just simply goes there. Now what I'm saying is, here we mention vivo dot last, right? So we have to mention vivo dot last and again vivo dot next. Okay, and then we have to insert. Let's try this. And now what we can do is maybe I can delete some records to just understand clearly. Delete from xxvivo header where 13, 18, 6, 11. Okay, I'll just delete this record, commit. I'll just run it. Okay, now I just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records, 5 records. I'll just click on insert. Can you see? Now it went to the last position. It went to the last position. Let us say my cursor at 12th record, but when I click on insert, it should be after latest record, right? Like this. Okay. Now, next thing is when I click on save, it has to call the PLSQL API. Okay, that logic will write now. So I'll go to the AM. So what I'll do is public void save xxpivo details data using PLSQL. Okay. So in this one, I'll want to create one more method, public void invoke insert xxpivo details PLSQL. Okay. So in this method, I will write the logic because I want to create two methods. One is for the purpose of insertion and one other purpose of updation. Okay. Now, this requires a callable statement logic. So I'll just use some of my existing code snippet for this. Okay. So just okay. So now first thing is what we require is we just need to use our Vivo. So what is our Vivo? XX Vivo. And when you're importing, right, very carefully try to understand whether are you using the Vivo of this particular current package or a different one, because there are chances you may have a same name in another package also, right? So it will automatically it will try to import whatever it is available in the across your JDeveloper. It does not bother about something is available within just this particular package or not. Okay. So how do you validate? Just simply control click on this one. Just control click on this one and understand what is the package structure of this one. Okay, this package structure belongs to the current AM which we are working on. So use that one. Okay, and similarly, because in the real time, right, it is not that you always start working the project from the scratch. You need to understand the existing logic also, right? Existing particular, maybe in the support or enhancements, we have to understand the existing logic also, where, you know, we need to understand how do we try to understand the existing code. So this is, yeah, now here if you observe, right, for the JBO, for the row package, we have different set of things which are available, but we have to use only this one, Oracle JBO row. But how do you know that? What you do is, we want to get the set of records which are available for insertion. So now what we are trying to do is, so I have this number of records in the table. Now, let us say I have 3, 5. So these are 5 old records and 2 new records. Okay. I just want to call my insertion API only for the latest 2 records. But how do I get those only 2 records is using the filter flag. I just want to get the list of records where the new row flag is Y and pass those records to the API. So I'm just using vivo.getFilter rows, wherever the new row flag is Y, get those records. Okay. And after that, what we require, we have, what are the different attributes we have here in our case? Let me get that. So we need to declare Vivo header ID, which is, I think, yeah, I have data type here. So I just want to have appropriate data types. Okay. So for number, it is Vivo header ID number, and anything other number, vendor ID and vendor site. Vendor ID num is equal to null. Similarly, vendor site ID null. Anything more? No. Now similarly, string segment str is equal to null, comma. What is other one? Status lookup code str is equal to null. Currency code is equal to null. Status. So I just declared these set of data types. Okay, we have to be very careful on the data type declaration. Okay. Now, what I'll do is, so I'll just mention these things here. I'll remove all the things which are existing one. I don't require all these things. So I have declared data types. And now observe this number, right? So now we have just 2 data types which are passing to our PLSQL. One is number and other one is PLSQL. So this number is not integer. This number is not at all integer. In Java, the problem in Java is we have different set of data types which are available for number. One is integer, we know, which is a basic data type. Other one is a number, and this number is a class data type. This is not a simple data type. This is simple data type. It's a primitive data type. You call it as primitive or a primary or a basic. Class is nothing but a complex object, right? It's an object. The OOPS concept comes into picture, and this number is not just available in a single API. So the number data type which we have to use should be always available in this API. We have to use the number which is available in this API. Even for the date also, we have to use the date which is available only in this particular package. Now here, if you observe whether it belongs to which Java API, control click on this one and observe it belongs to which one. Yeah, it belongs to java.lang, which is a wrong. Okay, don't use that one. So what we have to do is, you just try to observe where it is available. Let us say for this number, right, it is not showing any imported package. The reason is there are some set of data types which are by default will be available. We don't require any import for them, but we don't want this number data type. What I'll do is I'll just delete like this. I'll try to re-enter and see what happens. Still, it is not asking anything, right? Still, it is not asking anything. So the only way what I can do is Oracle JBO domain dot number, like this. I'll write it. Okay, but we have to write a bigger way like this, right? So what we can do is just copy this one, and mention import like this. Number, and let's see what happens. Still it does not use. That's a problem. Okay, still, can you see it still uses the, yeah, sorry, now it is going to the JVO domain number. Okay, so nothing but when you're mentioning a package, it is using that particular package. Okay, so always use this way. Now the next thing is we have declared a strings, and now we have a variable called return status, which is for the purpose of to find out, like whether what is the status of this particular, your invocation. We have two things here. One is return status and as well as return message. Generally, in most of the cases when we design a PLSQL, right, it is preferred to have return status as well as return message also. I'll better follow the same thing. Out varchar 2. Okay. Similarly for this one also, I'll mention this one. And now go here. Okay. Okay. So I'll just compile this. Okay. It got compiled. Now, so what I have to do, I need to iterate now this particular pivot, this particular row object, which is having all the records wherever the flag value is y. It is having all the data wherever the new flag is y. I just need to iterate that. I need to iterate each and every record wherever the flag value is y, wherever the flag value is y, get them. Okay. So this as of now will not use. Later we'll try to understand when to use this one. And then I need to get all the set of data. So I need to get each and every column data. So what I'll do is, so first thing is I'll just say pivot header number is equal to row dot get pivot header ID, and similarly vendor ID number is equal to row dot get vendor ID, vendor site ID is equal to row dot get vendor site ID, and what is other one? Segment str is equal to row dot get. It's a very huge set of tasks. Okay, so we have to, initially it is very huge thing, so we have to be very careful. Any mistake will simply give incorrect result. Okay, row dot get currency code. And that is why when you declare variables, right, we have to be very appropriate. We have to be very careful when declaring the variables in respect to data types, especially. Now here, if you observe, right, it is giving some issue for us. The basic reason is try to understand whether this get header ID belongs to which data type. It belongs to number data type, and which is domain number, but still it is giving that error. It is still giving this error for us. Just try to see whether it is a casting issue. No, it's just because I think, yeah, name variable name mistake here. Number H I mentioned here. That's a mistake. Okay, fine. Okay. Now this is the set of variables which we are getting here. Let me remove all this one. Yeah, we get the record, first record, I mean iteration, and get the set of variables. Now here comes a very important part. So now what we need to do, we just need to invoke our PLSQL API. So what is our API name? Our PLSQL package name. This is our PLSQL package name. Okay, just mention the package name dot appropriate procedure or a function name. Okay, now in our case we are invoking a procedure. Okay, mention that. And now when you here, it's like anonymous block invocation. It's very simple to understand. It's just a simple anonymous block invocation block. We have to write it. So now what we do is, so when you are trying to mention the list of variables and all those things, right, always try to use a copy method functionality, even though it seems a very trivial one, but it is very easier and not to have any mistake. Okay, I'll just use this one. Okay, now what I have to mention here is, here if you observe the syntax, each variable and its appropriate binding stuff, each particular parameter as well as its binding thing. So I'll just mention that. So I'll remove this one. So I'll just mention colon, sorry, is equal to arrow mark and 1 like this. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. Copy and just, so here I have one more thing, right? So I'll just press enter. Now paste. Okay. Now what we require, so it's maybe it is giving some kind of, like it should be string, right? It should be enclosed in double quotes. Now I'll just say plus, right? Like this it require. Just see the existing one first. See, we have plus symbol and double quotes, right? Plus symbol and double quotes. What I'll do is, right? So
Concatenate and
yeah, so it's plus symbol is for the concatenation. So I'll just say plus symbol, double quotes, and I'll just prepare everything in the Notepad++ so that it will be easy. Okay, plus symbol and double quotes. It's like just a concatenation and enclosure of a string. Okay.
That is package name is the EMP only. The package name is correct only. That EMP utils.
No, we have changed it. It's
That
PO
is
util.
yeah.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
No. Okay. 1 minute. Okay.
We need to check.
Yeah, I changed the file name, but not the package name. Yeah, this is another mistake which generally happens. Okay, so we may have referred to old name, but okay, let me compile again. Okay, change in our JDeveloper. Yeah, fine, but still there is some mistake, right? And semicolon, and it went here. Okay. Okay, so this is enclosure here. So we already have, we can mention this. See, this is the ending of your begin and end block, and also begin, package name, and then semicolon, and then after that you have end. Okay, it's just the same way which we invoke in an anonymous block in a PLSQL. Okay, now next comes the callable statement API, which we use for the purpose of PLSQL invocation. Just press Alt Enter like this, and use this one, java.sql.callable statement. And then now what we need to do is callable statement API. So we are passing a different set of data types. So what is the first set of data which are passing, which is a number in our Java, but in PLSQL you have to pass that as a integer value. So what I have to use is set int, and which is a binding parameter 1, comma, what is the parameter name? PO header ID num comma int value. PO header ID num comma int value. Okay. Similarly, what is other one? Set string. Set string. This is string, and what is other one? Segment str. Okay. Just see why it is giving error. Okay, add exception to method header surround with try catch. We already tried catch. Yeah, that's fine. So let me we just need to import some set of APIs. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So let me mention. So when you're using see now here, if you observe, right, when you're using set int, and if the value of that particular variable is null, dot int value will give a null pointer exception. So we always need to check whether the respective integer value is not null, and then only make sure that you can set it. So now let us say, assume that vendor ID is not mandatory, and to the database, what do you send? We just need to send set int. So I'll mention here vendor ID. If it is not null, what I'll do, vendor ID num dot int value. Okay, else I'll simply mention set null Oracle types.null. This is how we have to pass it. If it is null, simply pass like this. If it is not null, you just get the value. So similarly now, other one, vendor site ID. If it is vendor site ID is not null, you mention set int like this and mention the other one. So make sure the parameters are correct. Vendor site ID. And after vendor site ID, you have a status lookup code. Status lookup code.
Directly the actual column names, the names are just column name should be here.
There is no relevance of column names, right? For our understanding, or to pass a proper value, we need to make sure that you are mentioning them, isn't it?
No, this one here, vendor site ID, right? Vendor site ID, is it the variable, the vendor site ID name?
Yes, that's a vendor site. Here we declared, right?
Same thing.
These are the variables.
What same thing, variable name. All
We
these
are
are
getting, see, these are the temporary variables, and we are assigning all the values from the raw object to these temporary variables, and these temporary variables we are binding to the PLSQL API. Now these temporary variables are having the values, and before binding those to PLSQL, make sure that you mention the appropriate type conversion as well as check the null functionality of that. So now set here for this I mentioned like this because I'm assuming that PY ID should be never be null. If not, for this also we have to consider this particular comparison. Okay, for the strings it is not having an issue, but whenever you have the number as well as date, you always need to consider them appropriately. Okay. Status lookup code, I don't require this one for status lookup code. Okay, status, next one is, I think we don't require all these things. So after status, currency, and then comments. Okay, after status, currency, and comments. Okay, just check the stuff. Header ID, segment, vendor ID, header ID, segment, vendor ID, next vendor site ID, next status lookup code, currency, comments, and after that 8th and 9th are the out parameters. So for out parameters we have to register like this. You have to mention register out parameters and mention the binding sequence of that, and mention what is the out parameter type. So in our case both of them are varchar, so I need to mention oracle types.varchar, mention the size of the variable which you are expecting, and then after registration now execute. So this is the step. This is a callable statement.execute. This is a step where it actually invokes a PLSQL program, and after that, once it is invoked, you can expect the out variables, right? So for the out variables, you need to again mention the appropriate binding sequence of that. So return status will be sent in the 8th parameter and output message will be in the 9th parameter. That is what we are expecting. Just check that in the, yeah, here also we are correct. First is out parameter, first is return status, another one is return message. And if the return status is E, we are saying that it's an exception. Else, you can just simply ignore it and you can commit it. Okay. So now what we do is, let us say if return status is E, return status not equal to null, and if it is equal to return status this one, we are saying there is an exception PLSQL, and else we'll just say, okay, 1 minute. So where are we writing else? Just observe that. Yeah. So this is end of the for loop, right? This is the end of the for loop. Now just see here. Yeah, so this is the for loop, and here we are ending it. Okay, and now try and catch block. So try is here and catch block is here. Catch block is here, and outside the catch block we are saying it. And now similarly we can write. So yeah, now here if you observe, right, for each iteration, if you raise an exception, it will simply stop there itself. For error, you have to stop it. For error, you have to stop it. If it is not error, right, after the for loop, you just simply mention throw new OA exception. Anyway, we will write in the save logic, right? We doesn't need to write here. We'll just say here. Data saved successfully. Throw new OA exception. OA exception dot information. So this we have to call, and also one more thing, you need to
Error
commit it.
flag, where did we declare error flag E is there, no? That variable, where did
Yeah,
you declare?
so we have not declared anything. So the expectation is that in the insertion API, so here you have, here if you observe OA status, right? I'll return E. So I'll just mention like this. Now let us say I have not written any business logic, right? Exception when others, then I'll return the status as E, and also I'll return the message. Okay, I'll say exception something SQL code. Okay, this is the expectation. You will return the status of your program from the PLSQL. And this out status we compare in the OAF to understand what is the result of the invocation. If this particular return status, where is this return status? Return status is the return. What is return status getting? It is getting the string from the eighth parameter. What is the eighth parameter? Eighth binding parameter. This is the eighth binding parameter, right? Out status.
Yeah.
Ninth is a message. So just compare only the return status. If it is E, raise an exception and throw the return message in the OAF. Else simply display the success message. Okay.
Return message is also getting from PLSQL from
Yes,
that
we have to provide. Yeah, because PLSQL is doing the business logic. So PLSQL will have the information. It has to have the appropriate error code.
Okay.
Okay. So now here aim dot, not this one. So simply call the save button logic, save EMP, not save EMP data. Is this okay? Do we still have EMP data? Yeah, I'll remove this. Yeah. Okay. So let's try. So we'll see whether the invocation is successful or not. Then we'll write the business logic. Okay. And maybe we would have added the, what do you call, the DBMS output state. Okay, DBMS output will not work. Okay, fine. Click on insert. Let's say header ID is 59, vivo underscore 0059, vendor ID, some vendor site ID, something like this. Draft. Okay, USD comments. Okay, so I'll just click on save and let's see what happens. Okay, now what it is telling? Attribute set comments in the view object failed. So do you know what is the reason? Any idea? The reason here is like maybe that particular one, right, which we had issue last time, like mandatory stuff. So just check the vivo details vivo, check the attributes. So there should be some issue again here. Can you see? Again, it reverted
Yes.
to normal. So this is a very strange issue, because while creating the vivo, it was telling everything is updatable. Now it says not. Okay, this is an expected behavior. Yeah.
At that time, error was different. Now this
Yeah.
issue.
Yes. So let's run it. And now it is raising exception only when you click on save, not even after. I mean, we have not even changed the value of that, right? But still it raises an exception when you click on a button. Insert, let's say okay, click on save. It says data saved successfully. Okay, but we know that it will not get saved, right? So now what we do is, I'm assuming like invocation was successful. Okay, but still not sure because we can't guarantee that. So now what we can do is like go to the PLSQL. So let me get the parameters again. Okay, we already have it. So I'll just see here. Okay. So the parameter name, just only the difference is the parameter name starts with P underscore. Okay. So this way, like we can just make a convention. So preparing these kind of things becomes very easy, even though how many parameters it has. Okay. So now, so my parameter name simply starts with like this. Okay. Exception, I'll simply this one, and else I'll say success. Successfully. Okay. Now when it is success, we are not considering the out message of PLSQL. Okay, but still
Commit will that will take that
commit.
OF will.
Yes, in the commit we are writing only when the return status from the PLSQL is correct. So we are writing commit at this place.
Okay. Oh, here.
Okay. Yeah. Now
Not
save.
the database level.
Yeah, in database level we are not writing. Both should work, but yeah.
Yeah, this is more appropriate. I think this controlling Java.
Yes, yes, definitely yes. Click on insert 100, Vivo 100, 129, 345, draft, INR, new comments. Okay, let's try.
Mm.
It says saved, but still always
Mm.
validate from database. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's not there, right? Vivo 100 is not there. Vivo 100 is not there. So, but we are not getting any clarity where what happened, isn't it?
Yeah, message also.
Yeah, message it is displaying like that. So what we can do is right. So just check out here return status, callable statement. Yeah, callable statement is execute exception. This 100 only. Okay, we have mentioned 100 only. It is not displaying. Okay, fine. So now what we do is right. So the option what we have, so just run the logic in the debug mode. So because hopefully what I'm assuming this like maybe this flag was not set properly, or this flag could be a wrong thing. Okay, just see whether the value of the flag is same or this transient attribute. Yeah, it is correct only. New row flag. Okay, and what are we setting? We are setting the value of the flag is y. This is also correct. Okay, and maybe for display purpose also, I'll just display that as of now. New edit region, region attributes, v attributes. I'll set this flag also in the UI. And now just run this one in the debug mode. Okay, that's only way as of now. So right click on the page.
Euro flag initial value is set to by now.
Sorry.
Euro flag initial value is set to by, right? Initial value is
Yes,
set.
for new records only. Initial value, it will be null. By default, the value will be null. But for the new records only, we are setting the value is y. Existing records, obviously it will be null. So we are getting all the records where the flag value is y. Remaining, we are just simply ignoring it. Okay, so just see the value is null, empty. Click on
Now,
insert and you can just see value is y. So it is correct. So it is setting properly only. That's not an issue. Now let's say 150 is my pivot. Mostly like maybe the some of the values could be null or something, or maybe yeah. Let's see 150, 100, 250 or something. More comes. Now click on save. Okay. Now it is calling the debug mode. Clear this log. Press F8. Okay. Just see how many rows it gets. So vendor, where is that rows? Yeah, it says it's fine. F8. Initially they're null. Okay, it went into the loop, right? Rows dot length is equal to 1. Can you see? Rows dot length is equal to 1. Press F8 again. Check out. See, it is getting all the values properly. Like a PO header ID was 150, vendor number was 100. Similarly, it is getting everything. And now you can also check the status code, currency code, and check whether there is any mistake in the name. Parameters are correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 binding sequence is correct. Yeah, can you see here? There is a semicolon missing. No, semicolon is there. It is there. Sorry. It is there.
yeah,
And here it is there. That's fine. Okay. It's setting the value. It is okay. Setting the values properly only. Lookup code. Callable statement. Register out parameter. 8 and 9. That's correct. Written status is null. That is okay.
now
Yeah, it is coming out. Commit.
here the box is there here.
Now it is redirecting. Okay. It will call oa.jsp to render the page. Yeah, it says data saved successfully. Check again. Okay, 150. So just check here what is the issue. Insert pivot only, right? Insert pivot only, pivot header values. Fine. So I'll just stop this one, then again retry. If there is any mistake, right, it will raise here itself. There is no problem in that. It would have raised here itself. And yeah, header ID, segment, vendor ID, vendor site ID. Let's try. Let's rerun. But why are we not getting? Fine. Let me write here some statements. Okay. Rows length.
Data type is correct. Data types.
Data types, we have only two types. One is number, another one is varchar. So data types are proper, else we should have got issue already. Callable statement, gateway transaction. Yeah, data types are correct only. Callable statement dot execute. This is also correct. Okay. See, we just want to see whether it is coming here or not, right? So what I can do is, right, maybe this is another way. Create table xx pivot temp. Message. Okay. Because temporary table we require. Now we are not understanding what is happening, right? Isn't it? We're not understanding what is happening. Okay. I'll just say okay. Just mention that here.
You commit.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's try. Expected. So, okay. Let's try.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's save it. Go back.
Select star.
It's not there.
Maybe here it's even.
Okay. Very good. So there is some commit issue, right? Where it is commit? Where did commit is there? Commit we have to mention, right? Get the ODB transaction we have to mention.
Java commit is not.
This Java commit is not working as expected. What I'll do is, see, I'll just comment here just to understand what is the mistake. Somewhere is a mistake. That definitely there is no doubt. Okay. So just okay. I'll just compile here. Let's try. So when we deal with PLSQL, right, always initially there is always a good amount of hiccups. I mean, we have to deal one by one slowly.
Yeah.
So this is a live example of the issues which you get generally. 206 PO underscore 206 or something. Draft INR comments. Okay, let's save it. It says data saved, but go back, check out our luck. No, right?
Commit is also not error.
Okay. Neither of them is having issue.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Commit is not the problem.
Commit is not the problem. Let us say if PLSQL is giving any exception. Okay,
When you
okay. I see. I think there is some exception here itself somewhere. If that is the case, let us say what we do is here. Let's do this one. Maybe worst case, this could be an exception. Okay, exception block, SQL code. Now mention commit here also. Worst case, let us say it is giving any exception in the exception block. What happened? I think it does not allow, right?
yeah, only in exception block only.
It's okay. Okay, this time should, let's see. So if exception block, it has to return, right? See, let us say if it is in the exception block, it has to return those out parameter to the OF.
It should.
So maybe somewhere it is overriding or something is missing. 65, 65, something. Wow, very strange, man.
When you run the debug mode, no, I see there is one box kind of thing. Junk values. When you
Okay.
run the debug mode,
Yeah, sure.
see that here in the comments.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Let's say 6 something. Give okay. See row dot get filter rows. Rows dot length is 1. Inside the loop, vendor ID 6. Vendor ID is 121. Sorry, yeah. Site ID. Okay, I think segment. Yeah, segment is 006. Draft INR comments SQL statement, callable statement, setting the values one by one. Nowhere exception, right?
Yeah.
Where exception?
Yeah, here, what is that one? The box, why exception?
That is
Rectangular, this is square kind of thing.
no, that's not sure, but it's going to be a byte, something like that. It's why it's not telling anything. Okay, this simply redirecting. Let's OE.jsp will invoke finally, and it displays the stuff. I think still it is not working anyway. No. See, if database, assume that if the UI and database are different, package
Yeah.
invocation should have given an issue, isn't it? Package invocation should have a failure. Let's see, assume that, like, let us say I'll just mention some triplex like this and just see what invocation failure it gives. Okay, whether it is giving an invocation failure or something is totally a wrong thing. Let's see.
You should give something, some other error.
Yeah, now it has to give definitely. Let's say insert, I'll just mention 100 something. I'll click on save. Wow.
Something else, database is reset somewhere else.
No, it simply see now it is callable statement is an exception, right? It is not raising an exception.
Yeah.
It is not raising an exception. Okay, let's do a final debug and then else we'll continue tomorrow. Okay. Okay, now it comes the very strange one. Somewhere it is trapping or something is missing. Okay, definitely. Let's try that. Insert 100 pivo 100 and 20 something draft. Okay, save. See, callable statement, we mentioned the API, right? Okay, during execution, it will validate. Okay, fine. Let's see what happens in the execution. It has to give an exception now, definitely. Okay. See, the thing is, yeah, now I understand. See, what happens was, okay, now I understand the real issue. Somewhere there's a mistake, definitely. See, now you have a try catch block. Okay, and what are you doing here? You have a catch SQL exception or something. Here we are not writing anything. We should not write any throw stuff here. Here you have to just return status. Let us say if it is really an issue, mention it as G. And what is the other one? The return message, right? Return message. Sorry, it's double quote in. Yeah, so this is totally mess. That's the issue. E and return message is equal to the E dot get message. Now you'll get the real issue why it is not working.
Okay, actual exception.
Yeah, exception details. Yeah, this was a small mistake. Okay, fine. Because when you are giving a invalid name also, it is simply going because there is some logic missing where we are not trapping the exception properly.
Exception.
Yeah, that's fine. 100, yeah, 100, 20 something, right now. Okay. This is a null pointer. Okay, this is an expected one. That's okay. Okay, it's not working still. Fine, I will debug and let's see what is the issue.
Yes, okay.